Eros Meets Agape is a bi-weekly heart-to-heart conversation about love, sex, marriage, and relationships. Everyone wants to love and be loved, but everyone does not know how to give and receive the love they both want and need. Intimacy and passion are essential, yet mean nothing if there isn't unconditional and sacrificial love, which is the foundation for any lasting relationship. Dr. Sardia is a licensed marriage and family therapist and minister. Let's listen in as she shares how to create healthier and happier relationships.
Hey there, family. I have a special episode today. We are talking about online dating. What does it look like? What does it mean out here in these COVID streets? You know, people still don't want to come out. What does it really look like? We're going to dive in as we talk about online dating with my special guest, Rick Dodds. So let's head on over to the classroom because we have a lot to discuss today. I will see you guys in a second. Hey there, family. As I told you, I am so excited to talk to you guys today with my special friend, Rick Dodds. So you all may not know, but I was a guest on his show, The Rick and Naaman Show, and that's how we met and had this beautiful working relationship. I love it. How have you been, Rick?
I've been doing well. I've been doing really well. I think we've done 2 or 3 episodes together.
Really? It was 3? I knew 2.
I think it might have been 3. It might have been 2.
Okay. It's been a minute. It's, guys, we're in these COVID streets, recovering. Well, guys, Rick, actually, he is, I would call him a podcast entrepreneur because he helped me a lot, okay? On top of that, I was a guest on the Rick and Naaman Show. And then on top of that, Rick told me a little tidbit on how he found me on social media, right? Do you want to share that story, Rick?
So the funniest thing is that I have an ex to thank for finding you just because she recommended some episodes of yours. And we were still dating at the time. It was Rocky. And I listened to your episodes and I was like, oh man, this is amazing. So the way that we ended up finding each other, it's like I listened to your show and then I did like a thing where I was like, these are my favorite new podcasts that I gave 5 stars to. And I tagged you in it and you responded. And then it's been, we've been tight ever since.
I thought that was so dope. I was like, what? Oh my gosh, real people out here listening in the local area. I was like, this is so dope. So that was how we met. And we've just kind of been collabing since then, although I do still owe you a signed autographed book. I'm going to get that to you.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
I'm still going to give it to you. You don't have to worry. I am. But today we are focusing on online dating. There's so many ups and downs when it comes to online dating. And I just want to talk about it because some people think it's an embarrassing topic. I don't understand that part. Other people are like, it's the best thing ever. I don't have time to get out here and mingle like I did in my 20s or just because it's not a lot in my area. So it opens up the world to them. So, I just wanted to just really dive in and ask you, okay, one, let me just ask you this. What do you think is the number one online dating service? Let's say dating app service. What do you think it is?
Well, I think it depends on what you're looking for. From the ones that I've checked out, I feel like Hinge is my favorite one just because I feel like the people in there are they more genuinely looking for a connection than the other apps? Like some of the other apps are more like, I'm looking for fun or whatever the case may be. I feel like Hinge is the one where if you're in that mode where you really want to settle down with somebody, you really want to find the love of your life, that's the one that I would recommend. That's the one that I actually found my girlfriend out on. It's on Hinge.
Okay, that's cool. Now, I've tried Hinge, so I don't know if you know, but I was creating a dating app that's coming out soon. It's not really a dating app. It's really for people that are already in a relationship. And it's like a wingman support. It helps people or female out. People sometimes need communication skills elevated. They need ideas to help get out the doghouse, so to speak. Things like that. But anyhow, I digress. So while I was doing research for that, I started going on all these dating websites. Okay, first of all, that's a job, okay? Because I signed up for like 8 of them. That was work, okay? I felt like, can I just copy and paste whatever I wrote on one and the other? And you really can't, right? So I was on Hinge, and I am so horrible that I will create a, what do you call that? Profile on a dating website and literally do not know how to take it down. Hinge was the one that was like, we made it easy for you. Do you want to delete this now? I was like, thank you. So I did all that after my research was over. But anyhow, Hinge was great in the aspect that I didn't feel like I was going to the mall, to the store, and I'm flipping through the racks like, oh, do I like that? Oh, no, is that in my size? I didn't feel like it was like that. If I'm being honest, sorry, Match, but that's how I felt Match was. It was just too much. But oddly enough, Match is the #1 dating app in the world. But I think it's literally because they own OkCupid. They own, is it Tinder? Yes, they own Tinder. And then at its height, I think it had like 79 point something million people using it across the world. I was like, man, that's pretty dope. Okay. All right. But anyhow, when we look at online dating, tell me this, what do you think is the draw for people that gets them to, searching different dating apps in order to find someone significant or to find the one?
I think it's many draws. For me, when I was younger, I was in college. It's way easier to meet people. You meet people here and there. You're going to different parties and events and social functions. And after I had got done with my college relationship ended, it was a brand new world for me. Like, I really didn't necessarily want to be dating where I worked at, and I really didn't go any other places. So looking at the online apps was like, this world is more and more digital. It just gave you access to maybe even people that you never would have met or like out in the street at the mall or anything like that. It just gave you like introductions to people that you may not have ever seen in real life aside from the app. So I think people go in there for different reasons. I always say it's different reasons because I met with so many different people with different reasons of why they wanted to get on there. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's something very important to note. If you're looking on there, everybody ain't on there for the same reason that you are. So you need to always make your whatever you're on there for known at the very beginning, so that you're not meeting somebody and you're thinking that y'all both moving in the same direction, y'all going in opposite directions, but y'all trying to make it work. So that was why I really got on there. I really wanted to meet my person. And I didn't know if that was the way to do it, but it was the easiest way, the thing that I had access to the most people, so that hopefully my person was out there, right?
Okay. Now, see, I like that you were intentional in your search. How long did it take you to find your person?
Well, it took me a while just because I have met so many different people from dating apps, and it was times where I was on there and I wasn't necessarily ready to find my person. There was times where I was on there just to date and to meet people, and I always try to make myself very plain from the get-go. Like, I'm on here to meet people. So I've had multiple relationships from online dating, but cool. I think this last one, I kind of was starting to give up because at this point I had went through all right, I've had fun, I've been on dates, I've met tons of people, but I really just want a genuine connection with someone. So it took a while, and the thing that's good about the apps, whether you hate them or love them, I think sometimes you hate them just because it kind of how you were talking about Match. Mm-hmm. It kind of shrinks people down to like almost like a card game, like you're shopping for something online. Right. And I feel like it's so much nuance that is missed by just seeing somebody's stats, for lack of a better term. You're seeing like, oh, they're this tall, this is their religion, this is that and that. It's so much stuff that you miss just from a flat profile. And I always felt kind of bad just like judging someone just basically off of their looks and off of whatever they say in this little profile. And like you looking at it, it's like looking at a resume, you're looking at it for like 10 seconds and then you left or right. So for me, I had just got to the point where I just I really just wanted something genuine, and I didn't know if the apps would be the place for me to find that genuine connection. Like, I was blessed and fortunate enough to be able to find my person on there, and it wasn't like immediate because I think both of us were like hesitant because everybody who's been on those apps, everybody has a story. If you've been on an app long enough, you have a story about those apps. So I think we were hesitant, and I was just at the point of like, you know what, I'm good, guy. I'm just about to chill. I'm about to work on my podcast.
Just gonna be me and you for a while. I'm gonna get myself together.
And it's like, I'm good with that. I'm fine. And I met someone, and it wasn't even about necessarily dating. It was about somebody that I met. We had good conversation on app. We took it off app. We had good conversation. We were getting to know each other. We were being very intentional with the questions that we're asking. Like sometimes it's just like two people breathing on the phone. It wasn't that. I was getting to know her. She was getting to know me. And it kind of just evolved from that. And I think that's one of the reasons why it really worked, just because sometimes I feel like people get caught up in looking for love and looking for a relationship, but they're not looking for someone to have a healthy relationship with, or they just want the love part of it. Right. But it's a person that comes with that love part, and it's a person that comes with that relationship, and it's not all about you, it's about their needs too. And I think I had to really sink my teeth into that and realize that, and when I found that person, I was like, wow, this like really fits, because we're both looking for the same thing. We're both very intentional. We get along very well, and the rest is history.
You mentioned a few good points. I'm going back to the point you identified coming out of college. I think college spoils us in the aspect that everything that we need is there, right? The goal, of course, for some people is to meet their spouse while they're in college, and you have that proximity available to you, right? There's so many people you can meet, dorms you can go to meet people or what have you, even visiting other colleges that, friends may attend, or you're just visiting in general. And I think it's the proximity that makes it easy for us, because it's like, again, going into the mall, and it's, which store do I want to go in? Is it this dorm? Is it, this recreation building? Where? But then when you leave college, whether you graduate or just, go off to do something else, now you're not in an environment where people are readily available. And that becomes so challenging to people that it's like, well, wait a minute, what do I do? Okay, well, that means I have to be out every weekend meeting people. But a lot of people, the majority of people meet their spouse by someone that they know. And that's now even changing, that the closest runner-up is 40% of people are meeting their spouse online. And so it's just really just letting us know that the world is opening up. It's not just, what's in proximity to you in your bubble. It's what's available. I know the pastor of my church, she's a co-pastor, but she's still a pastor. She met her spouse online. He lives in another country. So it's just interesting how when people open up themselves, that becomes available to them. So kudos to everyone who does that. I must say, when I say I can't stand online dating, and it is just, and I don't even have bad stories. It's just the fact that I'm like, oh my gosh, if I have to fill out another profile, read another email, or in the text messaging within the app itself, I just feel like, oh my gosh, I have to go through this again. I really want to hand it over to my assistant and say, can you read these for me and just, narrow this down? That's so rude, but it just becomes so cumbersome to me that it's a lot. And it's interesting in the fact that I haven't had any bad experiences. Now, I know people who literally have had horror stories, where I remember my first actual time trying to venture out dating someone online. I was like 3 weeks in, met someone, was like, oh, this dating online thing is cool. Because we had similar interests. He lived on the West Coast. I was living in Virginia at the time, and we had a lot in common. Things were really great. And then he just started doing disappearing acts. And I was like, interesting. I'm in school finishing my dissertation, getting my doctoral degree. So I don't have time for this. I was like, you are but one of when it comes to being online. Because I was in this little small hick town. There was nothing there. Nothing. Literally nothing. And I was just like, okay, Can't do it. So met him or what have you. Fast forward, we didn't talk for a while, kind of talked back maybe a few months later, check back in, kind of start up. I'm really thinking something's going to go somewhere, right? He says, should I come visit you or should you come visit me? I got to thinking. I was like, you know what? How about I come to visit you? Never heard from him again until he called me to say, hey, just want to let you know I had a baby. It's like, oh. Wait a minute, I started doing the math and I was like, 1, 2, 3, 4. In order for you to have a baby now, when you were asking me to come visit, she was pregnant then. It's like, you take care. So that's like my horror story when it comes to online dating. Other than that, just meeting people that you just don't have, the same purpose. Going back to another good point that you said, that, it's not just about falling in love and being in love. It's a person that's attached to that. So what do I want that to look like? And I must say, when you're a counselor, it's hard out there because you're like, I literally need good communication. You don't have to talk to me all day long, but we're going to have some good conversation. And some people out here, I'm like, do you know how to communicate? So it's just challenging for some people. I have some friends, if I'm being honest, I asked a number of people that I knew to join me on the show to share their good stories as well as to share their not so good stories. People are like, mm-mm. In fact, I have a friend, Rick, close friend, who's married, met her spouse online. She was like, no, I don't want anyone to know that. And I'm like, what is there to be embarrassed about or ashamed of? This is like commonplace nowadays. People are happily admitting this. I have another young lady that I know from college. She met her spouse. Gosh, they've been married for probably like about 18 years now. She was saying when she met him and got married then, yep, I met my spouse online. So she's happy about it. Whereas I have another friend who's not. Do you think that people are okay with admitting or to other people, especially those that are close to, that they met their person online? Or is it?
I think it's becoming more acceptable. I remember when I told my mom, it's like, oh, where'd you meet her? I met her online. She's like, and like, it was like instant. And it's like, the last 2 people I dated, I met online as well, right?
Like what? Okay.
I just think it has a lot to do with that the internet it's not really that old. If we're honest, like dating apps are not really that old. No. So the stigma behind it, I think, is an older stigma that's going to start to go away as people understand the internet more. And the people who are like younger than me, even, they grew up with the internet. Internet meant something different. Like it was new for us. Like, internet's new. Like, where did this thing come from? This is amazing. So it was times where internet could be kind of sketchy, but we're talking about people now have grown up. They don't know life with the yellow pages and the white pages and stuff like that. So I think that stigma is starting to go away. But I do think one of the things that you said when you're telling your story, that I think that people hate on dating apps just because it's the thing that makes it awesome. It's the thing that makes it horrible at the same time. Is that you can reach so many different people at once. And as compared to having a limited number of people that you're around, I think like back in the day before online dating, when you met someone, you try, if you really liked them, you made it work. Because you had like limited options and there wasn't like a zillion options around. Now I feel like you get on a dating app, everybody's talking to 20 people at the same time. And if you really have a connection with somebody, but they do something that it might be one thing that they did that you didn't like, you instantly can just easily abandon that and move on to something else. And I feel like that happens a lot of times. So it's a lot of juggling. There's a lot of people not wanting to work on actually being in a relationship, like a real relationship.
Is that a bad thing though?
I think it's a bad thing because I feel like any relationship is going to take work. Nothing is going to be perfect, and there's going to be times where you disagree, and you have to have areas where you can disagree and build upon it. I don't know if people are really genuinely taking the time to build those relationships anymore, just because when you have so many options, sometimes people are just quick to, like, as soon as we disagree, after you get out that honeymoon phase, we don't agree now, I'm out, because you can go and get something instantly. Now you can go meet 20 people with a click of a button.
Now, see, I kind of look at it from a different angle. Here's why. Most people know that when men are dating, they date in multiples and then they narrow it down. Women generally, okay, I think I like you. Now I'm going to stop dating everyone else because I like you and let's see where this goes. And because of that difference in person, now that it's online, women who are dating online are dating multiple people at the same time. And it's opening up their world to options that they never considered before. And so I don't necessarily look at it as, okay, I don't like what you just did, so let me knock you off. I actually look at it from the aspect of how men have dated in the past. So I like this, that, and I see that in these 4 people. Well, how do I now narrow you down? Okay, well, I don't like these things. Okay, let me take you off the list. Now, in what you're saying, I think that's true. There's some people who do have too many options, it's very commonplace. So because of that, you can easily be dismissed and I can just go online to, my dating app and find someone else to replace you. But I think people that are really trying to make an effort to meet someone, I think they're just going through the weeding out process. It's almost as if I don't know, if I'm trying to be on, I don't know, whatever reality shows out there nowadays, and you trying to be the winner, then, okay, we're narrowing it down. How do you win, so to speak? We're just not saying that out loud, but in essence, that's what we're doing, because I'm looking at all of these options who I'm trying to connect with. And as I have these conversations with different people, I'm seeing, wait a minute, not only do we have great communication, but we have a lot in common. So there's a lot of compatibility. We have a lot of the same dreams, things like that. So it makes me now gravitate towards one person as opposed to the other. So if I'm gravitating towards someone, then it doesn't mean that I'm knocking this other person off the list or these other individuals off the list. It's really the fact that you're just not vibing with me in the way that I need or that I want, that I'm getting from this other individual that I'm kind of feeling.
I think that's definitely the point sometimes. I definitely have seen people that have been in relationships, and as soon as one thing goes wrong, they instantly turn their ass back on and they're making matches like right away instead of taking the time to go through the growth that sometimes it takes when you're in a relationship. Anybody who's been in like a longer term relationship knows that, like, sometimes you hit those rocky roads, and it's not until you hit that first conflict that you really understand what your relationship is going to be about a lot of times. And I think some people are getting past that honeymoon phase, and then they're, instead of trying to like see like, is this really what I wanted? Mm-hmm. They are going back to those apps to try to swipe and match with somebody else. That's just what I've seen though. And that could be a generational thing too. And that, because that's from even like generations that's like underneath mine. So I just feel like sometimes they just not taking that time to really develop, just because they have so many options that they think that they're just going to find that person that they're never going to argue with.
But you mentioned a good point yet again when it comes to generations under you. So Gen Z, they're different, right? That's all they know is I was born and here was the internet and everything that was at my fingertips was available for me, right? So, okay, first of all, I have to laugh at this one, but I get it's because I'm like 2 generations removed from them. I had an episode talking to Gen Zers, and one was millennial. And when I said online dating, they said to me, Rick, do you mean DMing me on Instagram or Snapchat? I was like, no, I mean online dating. Like you download an app and then you sign up for it to start dating people. And they're like, oh no, we don't do online dating. So it got me to wondering, do Gen Z not date online as far as, dating apps? Because to them, dating online literally was, oh, this person DM me. I mean, I can't tell you number of times I'm on TikTok or Instagram and you're watching people's stories or what have you. And they're like, oh, this person DM me. And then we start talking and then we started dating. Now we're been married for 5 years with 2 kids or whatever. And it's like, okay, people my age are like, should I respond to this DM? I don't know. Is this safe, girl? So the difference it's just baffling to me. But in the same sense, if I look at the opposite version of that, Gen Zers also struggle with their communication skills or their social skills. So while they were closed up, really giving access to, online platforms, they also didn't have access to one-on-one, face-to-face communication. So where they are weak there in some areas for some people, they pick that up with being able to type what it is that they want. And because of that, they're able to open the door to that communication. But how long does that really last? Because sooner or later you're going to want to at least FaceTime. Dare you not call, but FaceTime or something, right? Eventually I'm going to have to get in person with you. We're going to have to communicate, and that's where we're going to figure this out. So I think from what I've heard from them, they are challenged in that area. And I've interviewed a number of them, like I said, doing a dating app research. And a number of them said we are struggling with communication skills. And then also we've seen our parents not really do so well, or they've done great and they don't relate. So I can't talk to them. So in either case, I can't talk to them. But what person doesn't feel like that when they're young, right? And I think all of those things together really kind of hinder their ability to see the benefits from online dating, because they have the access to the world that they're accustomed to in any other platform, whether it's video games or, just connecting via social media. So I wonder, what is the challenge with them when it comes to online dating? Because it's the same mindset, but for some reason or another, they think it's a bit archaic.
We did an episode. It was basically social media as a dating app.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we're saying is that social media, even though it's just a slice of you and it's a slice that you decide to show, you think about a dating app, maybe you put in 10 pictures and like 350 characters worth of who you are and your political views and your religious views and whatnot. But what we're talking about is that on social media, you get a more of a slice of who a person is. You get to see a little bit of their personality. You get to see this and that. And actually from that episode, I had somebody who was, I think she probably would be a Gen Zer. She reached out and she said that all of my relationships that she's ever had has all come from like social media.
Wow. All
of them.
Wow. Okay. So so how does that work? Is it like a deep dive research? I mean, again, older people tend to lock their pages down, right? Because it's where, the world is chasing them. Whereas everyone else that are, I would say probably Gen Z and lower end millennials, because, it's two age ranges in that age group. But I think you all keep your social media platforms open. Anybody can scroll through and see what they want to see. So it's kind of an ingenious idea if you think about it, having a dating app that connects to your social media so they can see the real you, as opposed to this representative that is your online, platform that you are introducing yourself to the world. So it's kind of ingenious, but I don't know, Rick.
I mean, a lot of millennials and Gen Zers too come up in a place where celebrities are now social media stars. Like those people who have a lot of that's replaced a lot of our like movie and television and music stars. A lot of stars have been born from social media. So a lot of people want to emulate that, and they want to depict the life that they're trying to lead to. And a lot of people see that. So they're not going to close off their page. They want to be seen, and they want to be seen by as many people as possible. I feel like I fall enough at the top of the millennial, like the edge of it, to where I'm like, like I do it because I need to do it. I don't necessarily do it just because I don't want to be seen like that. I'm fine. Like I want you to listen to my podcast, but like you don't need to know everything I'm doing. I do share some stuff, but like I share with a purpose too. Like even when I share my girlfriend, like one of the reasons why I started even sharing hers is just because I wanted people to understand and know that I was in a relationship, and just don't slide in my DM. Like I have somebody that I'm with and I'm happy. So you don't have to respond to that in that way. We're good.
You're like, this is a barrier. I need you all to know this is what's happening. Okay. What do you think are the reasons that people would gravitate to online dating, or even, well, I'm not going to say social media, because that to me is just mind-boggling the way that you just explained it. So that's really clear. But why do you think people gravitate to online dating as opposed to in person? And I say that because if I just use your example with social media, and that you really get to see a slice of me, well, then if you meet me in real life, right, face to face, then you do get to see the real me in that aspect, which you don't get to see online. So outside of proximity reasons, what do you think are some of the reasons people gravitate to dating online as opposed to meeting someone in person?
I think there's a few reasons. Like, again, you're talking about access, just being able to talk to so many people at once. But also, it's kind of a safety net, when you meet somebody, so you find somebody, you meet, y'all swipe, y'all match, boom, you got a match, y'all both like each other, let's talk. And y'all start to talk, and y'all talking within the app. Like, you don't have to give that person your real number. You don't have to give that person your social media account. You don't have to give them anything tied to you. And plus, growing up as a young man, like I wasn't always outspoken. I wasn't always extroverted. Sometimes I was shy. I didn't have the confidence to talk. So you can talk, yeah, me, exactly, right? But if you are introverted and you don't like talking to people and you have a hard time having those social interactions, you think about the thing with like text messaging and messaging on apps and stuff like that is that you lose a lot of that communication. You lose the nonverbal cues and whatnot. But the thing is, you don't have to focus on those nonverbal cues. All you have to do is focus on what you type into that little message box. So I think it's a level of comfort where you can feel like you're a little bit braver online because you feel, even though you're being seen, you're a little bit more anonymous. And I think it just makes people feel a lot more comfortable. Like you see me, you see my picture, but you don't necessarily know who I am. And if I don't like you, I can block you. And I don't have to worry about you having my phone number. I don't have to worry about you know where I live. I think that is one of the things that really makes people lean into that. It feels a lot safer. You can be braver because people online are a lot braver talking because people say stuff online when you see them in person, they would never say it.
That's true. So is it a false sense of security? Because if I'm braver online talking to you and say I don't have that, I don't know, right conversation, social skills, swag, however you want to identify it, and now I meet you in person, well, this is the real me. So are you going to like me and this is how I am? Or is it the fact that you're hoping, well, maybe with time, I can open up, become more comfortable with you, that you see me in a more vulnerable state and you get to know me and like me? Or this is my representative and it's not real. You know, it's like all these options. So it's like, which one do you really rely on? Because if I have all this bravado on social media and I don't have it in real life, a person can be disappointed. Like, wait a minute, that's not who you introduced me to. So which one is the real you? So it's kind of dicey on that one.
I think it's a little bit of all, but I think the one that I've seen most is people, they get more comfortable with you. Like, you know, it's people that I've worked with even in podcasting that I've never met in person. And you can get comfortable with someone. So like if I met them, it wouldn't be anything nervous. It wouldn't be that awkwardness. It's like, hey, like I've talked to you for hours and hours and hours. So if you talk to somebody for so long and you feel like you know them, there will still be that initial awkwardness, but I'm thinking that they hoping that familiarity will carry them through that awkwardness.
Okay, now when you say this awkwardness, do you solely mean we're just messaging one another in this online platform and now we're communicating, or do you mean as in we're actually talking to one another? You hear my voice, I hear yours, and now we're meeting in person.
Yeah, I think every step along the way, because I feel like you start out messaging and you don't have to move to that next step until you're comfortable. Okay. And then you get comfortable, you start to get familiar with them, then you hear their voice, and then you guys talk. Maybe you guys talk for hours, and maybe it's a while before you meet each other, but by then you have a little bit more comfort with them. That's just really my guess, and I've seen a lot of people go about it that way because they're not great in person, but like if they kind of know you a little bit, it makes it easier for them to get to know you more in person, because it is a difference when you get that body language and the chemistry is completely different. But it's like less you have to worry about because you actually know that person more or less.
To me, it's similar to a blind date. So in a blind date, we have more than likely been matched or hooked up by people that we know. They have told you something about us, not a lot, but enough to pique your interest. And so now we're meeting up somewhere. Conversation probably starts off a little dry. So how do you know so-and-so? And, you know, then it kind of fumbles along the way. And then something either happens during the date that's great, that allows that conversation to flourish, or things don't go the way we hope. And then it's check, please, because I want to go home. And I think if you look at blind dates like that, and if you are awkward when you are communicating with someone that you don't know online, you know, you're doing the same thing. You're fumbling. What do I ask you? I know some things about you. I'm not trying to make this seem like it's an interrogation, but I am trying to interview to find out, you know, what do we have in common? So you fumble your way in the beginning, hoping to find that connection. Then something sparks, and then it just seems easier from there. But if nothing sparks, then it's like, okay, let me just remove you and move on to option number 2 through 12. because this wasn't it. So it's that awkwardness in general where you're trying to figure out, what do I share? What do I not share? What do I want to know? How do I say all of this without seeming overwhelming to this individual and wanting things to just really unfold organically? So it's kind of a delicate balance that we have to like walk through.
Yeah.
So what do you think dating in person offers us that we can't get through online dating?
Well, one thing for sure is that I never would want to date someone that I've never like officially like being in a committed relationship with someone if we met online and we haven't met in person, just because it's so many nonverbal and chemistry and spiritual and different things that you can feel from a person in person that you don't get from text or even phone calls. So I think it's just so important to like really be able to see and meet that person, because sometimes you can meet somebody that you've been talking to and you get there and the chemistry is off and you guys just don't vibe in whatever way, even though the communication was there and maybe the conversation was there, maybe it's just something chemically that doesn't work. So I think you just get more information, you get more, for me, it's more of a feeling. Okay. And I feel like it has to feel right too, as well as be like, oh, we have good conversation, we have similar likes and dislikes, but then you get together and it doesn't feel right, then I don't think it's right. It's not right for me anyway, I would say that.
What's the timeline for that? And I asked that question yet again, talking to Gen Zers, and they were like, oh, in 2 weeks, we need to meet up. And I'm like, are you talking every day? And they're like, no, we probably, message a couple of times back and forth. I don't have time. I need to move on, see them in person, see if we vibe well. But then I know other people that are Gen Zers and even, millennials that go on to say, I want to talk to them first, get to know them, see if this is right, feel comfortable. So it kind of makes you wonder, what is the balance, or should I say the range in too long and too soon when it comes to, I want to find out if there's some type of connection, or a spark between us. Now, I don't want to drag this on and then end up finding out that we don't, but I don't want to move too soon and preempt myself from even experiencing this spark because I moved too fast.
I don't think it's a one size fits all for anybody, even myself, just because depending on the communication and the way that you guys are talking, okay. I would say one of the biggest downfalls of online dating is that some people don't know how to carry a conversation. So it's like you could talk to somebody, you could be very intentional about the questions that you're asking, but if they're giving you one-word responses or they're answering the questions and not asking you questions back, then you kind of hit like a wall at a certain point because it's one person carrying a conversation. So like for me, it all depends on like, how much we talk, how close we get, how quickly we get. I don't put like a hard date on it, like by 2 weeks. I know from being on apps and stuff like that, there's some people that will say, like, I'm not looking for a pen pal. Like, I want to meet somebody. They'll specifically put that in their profile.
Right.
But I don't think it's a one. I think it's when you both feel comfortable and you're ready to take that next step. That's when you take it. And sometimes that could be a week. Sometimes that could be a couple weeks. Sometimes it could be a little bit longer. But I feel like the strongest connections that I've ever had, and the most recent one I've had, the last one with my girlfriend now, I don't think it took that long because we transitioned from the app relatively quickly. And then once we started talking, our conversation was so good that we were like, hey, let's meet each other. Like we need to meet each other. We need to feel if this chemistry is real. If we both were really awkward, you're still really awkward even though you talk to somebody together. But like once you get that feel, you get to know somebody, it's completely different and adds that extra layer. And I feel like that's that last piece. Okay. So it really just depends on conversation, how fast you click, how intentional you're being. If I'm online, I'm talking to 15 women online, then one woman is not going to get the same attention as they would if I was talking to 1 or 2 women online. Sure. So if you're spending more time talking to that person, like I've been with my girlfriend for a year, but we were so intentional. Yeah, it's only a year. Everybody thinks it's been like 2 or 3. But the thing about it is that we were very intentional with our relationship and we were very intentional with the questions that we asked. So we got to know each other really quickly. We started to incorporate each other into our lives pretty quickly. And then once we're solid, we started incorporating our families and friends into it. So I've met her family, she's met my family, our friends, we all are good. We actually a bunch, her friend and my friend, we all went to brunch today. So it's just about taking that time to really get to know someone. Cause I feel like I've been in like 2-year relationships and longer relationships and like, longer relationships, 3 and 4 year relationships. And I don't feel like some of the women that I was with know me as well as my woman does now.
Wow.
Just because.
And that's because there's more communication here.
More communication is not even just more communication, because you could just say anything, you could communicate. It's more intentional communication. We're intentionally trying to know, like, what do you need? That's something that we do with each other. We say, do you need anything? Do you need to talk about anything? We kind of have like this thing where we kind of like check on each other to make sure that if it's something that I could do for her, or something that she could do for me, we try to verbalize it so that we're not trying to guess what we need. And that's kind of just something that's been present from the very beginning. And I feel like that's what has brought that closeness. And that's why people see us. We look so natural together. Like, we just fit so well together because we spent that time doing that work. Emotionally, I had to do work in myself to make sure that I was whole, that I had healed from every situation that I had been in, so that I wasn't presenting myself as a broken individual looking for somebody that's whole. We both did that. And it's 2 whole people. And I feel like once you're ready and you find somebody that's ready, then you can move at a different pace than someone who's still broken and dating to try to heal.
So if we were in a club that the poets were speaking, I would be snapping my fingers like, yes, yes. It makes a big difference when you take the time to heal, reconfigure yourself, and then get back out there, as opposed to, okay, let me man up, let me just wipe my tears, whatever that is, and get back out there, because you're only adding more damage to yourself while also adding damage on to someone else. So that's a really good point. But, it also makes me think of this question. Okay, so I know people who have been matched on one site and, they didn't like the person. Then they were matched on another site. Well, let me check this out. Or they were matched, talked to them, didn't like them, waited some years or what have you, however long, ended up going on another site, ended up being matched again. But because some time had passed, they didn't remember. But the other person did. They got matched, talked to them, things seemed to work out. And the person's like, you do know we were matched before, and you stopped talking to me. You're like, what? I know people who did that. So what do you think your thoughts are with regard to that happening to people? Do you feel like maybe time just allowed them to heal, or they worked on themselves and that's what allowed it to work the second go around? Or you think it's something else?
I think that we as people are in a constant state of change. And if I say like 2 years ago when we first met, I feel like I'm a completely different person. And I can listen to not completely different, the chorus the same, but some of the things and some of the ways I feel has been changed and impacted based on the experiences that I've had since then, the things that I've been through since then, the people that I've met, the media that I've consumed, the things that I've done. Everything that happens that influences you. And that's like one of the things, like I hear people all the time, is that when you get into a relationship, like you're one person when you start that relationship, but as you grow in that relationship, you start to change. And that other person is changing too. So that means your relationship needs to be changing as you guys change, and you need to reevaluate sometimes. So I think, even talking to my girlfriend now, I think we talked about it. And I was like, I don't know if I would have been ready to receive you before we met. I don't know if I would have been in a place where I would have really appreciated what I have and really even recognized what I had, and vice versa. I don't know if we would have clicked the way that we clicked, just because it's stuff that we went through before we met each other that helped me recognize some of the gifts that she has. Okay. And some of the traumas that I've healed from, that I see, that I really appreciate the places where she nurtures me in certain areas that I wasn't nurtured before, but I wouldn't necessarily know that that was something that was special if I hadn't seen how I was treated by other people. So every situation that I've gone through, good or bad, I feel like I always try to take something from every experience, every relationship that I've been in. Even if it ends badly, I just say, it's lessons that I've learned. It's ways that I've grown. It's mistakes that I've made. How can I learn from those mistakes? I know better what to look for. I know better what I want. I know better what I need. I know better what I'm worth. So when we met each other, I wouldn't have been in the place that I was if I hadn't been through the things that I had been through. So I feel like sometimes you can meet somebody and you can be in one place. I've seen so many men change when they had a daughter.
Yeah.
It's just things that can change who you are just so much. And I think sometimes that happens. I don't always think I was mature enough to be in this kind of relationship. And I think it's times where we're not mature enough to be in a relationship, and then we think we have things that happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, like I would have fumbled this 2 years ago. I would have fumbled this. But now everything that I've been through prepared me for this moment, and I'm not going to fumble this because I recognize how special it is. And I think that happens to a lot of people.
Do you think fear sometimes gets in the way, whereas people may know that they're ready, but may be afraid to put themselves out there again?
Yeah, I think 100%. I think that goes kind of back to healing, because whenever you open yourself up for love, you open yourself up for hurt. So it's like, if you're afraid to be hurt and you close yourself off from hurt, you also close yourself off from love.
Never.
So you got to be able to put yourself out there in order to get it. And if you're not ready to put yourself out there, then maybe you should sit down for a little while.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. All right. So since you are dropping knowledge and words of wisdom, let's close out. What advice would you give to someone who is experiencing troubles with online dating or not really certain if that's the right route for them?
The advice that I would give is just like anything else that you do in life, you're going to get what you put into it. And I think the first thing is really to be intentional and know what you want from it. If you really just going on there to meet people and have fun, then you need to be upfront and make sure that person is looking for the same thing.
Oh, that's good.
Because there's a lot of people on there looking to have fun, and if you're upfront with them, y'all can have fun together. But don't go and meet somebody who's looking for a serious relationship and you're just looking to have fun, and you don't let them know, because they're going to be mad at the end of the fun. It's not fun for them if they're not getting what they came for.
That's
so
that is the reason why I say that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but the reason why I say that, one of my friends was dating, well, of course, online dating, and the person that she was communicating with, she's asking, very clear questions, very intentional, and she could tell there was a gap, something was not there. And she asked, tell me, what is it that you're into? What are you hoping to obtain? And that's when he ended up telling her, oh, I'm in a relationship, but we're looking for a threesome partner. And she was like, you need to lead with that, because whoever is into that with you, they'll be okay with that. But everyone else, she's like, I'm cool with just letting you know that won't work for me. And it's, no harm, no foul, but you may hurt someone else later on if they're not picking up on, these gaps. So that's a very good point in you identifying that you have to be, in my opinion, I agree with you, that you have to be clear on that. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Reminded me of her story.
I think the another thing is like knowing what your boundaries are, knowing what you're willing to accept, and knowing what you're not willing to accept at all. Mm-hmm. And it's like for me, when I was dating and when I really got intentional, like I'm really looking for a wife. When I got to that point, I looked at it different, because, maybe politics and religion and whether they wanted kids or not, maybe that didn't matter if I was just looking to have fun. But when I got serious, those are things that mattered. And I needed to know up front, if you had kids, are you willing to have more kids? Are you religious? Are our religious beliefs similar? Political beliefs, it's kind of like whatever. But, it's certain things that I wasn't willing to I had deal breakers. And I stopped a lot of things up front from developing into something that could have been, we could have been together for a year, and then we get a year down the road, and then we start to talk about those things we should talk about when we first met. Mm-hmm. So from talking to you and from having a whole show where I talked about relationships nonstop, it kind of gave me the questions that I needed to ask. So I really knew what I was looking for in a woman. I was looking for like a reflection of myself, someone who would support me and push me and fill the gaps that I didn't have, and someone that I could support and fill gaps that she didn't have. So I knew how to ask those questions to get to that information, to see what her attachment type style was and what her love languages are. And just doing that up front, having those conversations like, do you want kids? Or what are your religious views? And like, how do you think about finances? And what do you think gender roles in the relationship should be? Just because.
Yes. Okay.
I think it's important really because everybody will tell you like, oh, gender roles are dead. Everybody should be equal, and I'm independent and this and that. There's so many different philosophies out there. I'm always into finding the philosophy that works for you and your mate. So I want to make sure the philosophy that I had for a relationship that I was in is something that matches what she saw. So we had one of our first dates. We were driving. We're having a conversation about how to handle finances. Well, how we wanted to do what we wanted to do with our money, because finances is important to me, and that's something that breaks up a lot of relationships. So I wanted to get that conversation out the way. And as women that I met, and I asked them certain questions, and I knew from their responses that they weren't deep enough in the areas and they weren't mature enough in the areas, and I wasn't the person that they were looking for. And knowing that as quickly as possible, you can save yourself time. But I think it's just really being honest with what you want. And being honest with yourself, what do you want? What can I take? What can I take? And just presenting that and being open and upfront, because nobody can read your mind. And just because something means something to you does not mean it means the same thing to that person. Mm-hmm. So as honest as you can be, as upfront as you can be, put in the work that you need to put in, and just remember that online dating is just an opportunity, but you still have to deal with people. And people are going to people. So it's just like you looking for somebody. If you want a ring, and you're a woman, you want to get married, remember that ring, that comes with being a wife. And what does being a wife mean to you? What does being a wife mean to a man? Mm-hmm. A lot of times we'll look for things without realizing what our take is. It's like people want to be famous. People want to be podcasters and stuff like, oh, I want to have a podcast. Do you know how much work it goes into doing a podcast? Do you want to it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work, but everybody wants that end product, but they don't want to go through the things that you have to get through to be battle tested, to be where you are, and the things that you have to do in order to maintain it. So just being upfront and knowing what you want is just, that's going to be whether you meet somebody online, whether you meet somebody in person, you need to know that.
That's true. That's true. The work you put in is the work that you will get out of it. And I just really, in summarizing what you said, pretty much all I heard was, this is my favorite phrase, you got to get naked. If you want to connect with someone, you have to get naked, meaning you have to be vulnerable with them. There's no way you're going to have love if you don't open up and have that risk. You have to understand who you are and what it is that you want while you're listening to them to see, is that compatible with me and my views and what my hopes, dreams, and desires are? Can we make this fit? Are these areas that is debatable for me and it's, something that is a must for you. So therefore I can be flexible there. But on these core areas, we need to be on the same page. We need to be symbiotic. So I love that you're having a great relationship and you're growing and learning and just having fun, enjoying love and life. So congratulations to you. And thanks for the good advice for all the listeners out here. I know they'll appreciate that word of wisdom from someone who's experienced it and who's also having fun with love right now.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And you are one of my favorite people. And I could not wait to finally get the invitation to be on your show.
Oh, you're so nice. Oh, you're so sweet. I was like, there's going to be an opportunity that I'm going to connect with Rick. And I was waiting because I was debating, okay, which one do I want it to be? And then I thought about it and I said, I don't really think I need to narrow it down. So I was like, I'm just spreading it out. So I'm spreading the love, Rick. So for everyone who's listening and you're enjoying it, if I can just snag him again in the future, I'll be seeing Rick sometime later this fall for another episode. Well, hopefully your schedule will be free and that can happen.
Just let me know. I'll make room for you.
Yes. And I'll have, well, you know what? I'll give you your book before then.
All right. I'll be waiting for it.
All right. So Rick, tell our listeners where they can reach out to you or as well where they can find you and follow you.
Well, you can follow me at Doddism on Instagram and pretty much everything. And that's DODDSISM. but I also have a bi-weekly podcast. It's called Still Talking Black. And I actually want to get Dr. Saudi on. I got an episode idea to have her on, and I think it'd be fantastic. But what Still Talking Black is, it is bringing awareness and perspectives to issues that Black people face every day. And I want to bring, it's not the easiest topic to talk about. It's something I feel like I'll call to, because like the hard stuff, you got to be called to do it, because nobody's just going to do it, right?
That's right. Yes.
But I think it's just really important, especially in today's times with everything that's going on in the world, to bring awareness and perspective to our topics, because if we don't speak out, it's not a lot of people that's going to speak out for us. And it's a lot of things within us that we need to talk about and actually digest and split up and understand better why we do some of the things that we do, why we like some of the things that we like. So that's just my way of being active and constantly promoting Blackness, and also getting to learn more about Blackness, just because that's not something that's always been in my face. But no matter how I see myself, the world is going to see me a whole nother way. So I want to embrace it. I want to understand it, and I want to share with other people.
And then I also think just in having that platform, it's a safe space for people to be able to open up and share. It's not a lot of that without people feeling as if they're going to be judged or criticized or ridiculed in some kind of way or misunderstood. But to be able to have a platform where you can have these delicate topics, but to be able to dissect them healthily in a place, in a setting where you will be accepted as well as heard, even if you may not have another person agreeing with you. It allows that, I would say, opportunity for people to be able to open up and to learn from one another. So I say we need it. We need more of it. All right. So guys, I just want to thank Rick for coming onto the show. I always enjoy our conversations, and I haven't seen him in a while. It's been a while. So it's nice to see you. And guys, you know how we like to close out the show. I always like to end with our like it, love it, leave it tips. So now I have someone here to do it with me. Rick, this is a first time experience here. Okay. Usually I close out the like it, love it, leave it tip for myself. So let me ask you, what would you say out of our conversation today? What did you like out of what we discussed? What would you give?
What did I like? So I like the fact that we are actually talking about this. I think that is very important, that a lot of times we don't want to have the uncomfortable conversations about things such as dating. And I like the fact that we're having a conversation that dating is what you put into it, and you have to also be uncomfortable in dating, as you are with a lot of things, because growth is uncomfortable. So as odd as it sounds, I like to be uncomfortable. And at times it was uncomfortable talking about dating, but I feel like that's where the growth happens. And I feel like anytime I've been uncomfortable, it's been some growth that comes after it.
I like it. And I'm going to piggyback with my love it tip. I'm actually going to pull some from what you said. And you identified that when it comes to love, you have to put yourself at risk. I'm not using the exact same words, but in essence, what I heard you say, if I want to experience it, then I have to put myself out there, which means I take the risk of being hurt. But if I do the work beforehand so that I can present myself in the best version of me, then possibly I lessen the risk of being hurt, because I'm more prudent in who I'm going to communicate with and get close to. So I would narrow it down and saying, if you want to connect, you got to let them see you naked. All right. And I love that you identified, because I say that all the time, and I see that you're agreeing with me. All right, Rick, close us out with the leave it tip. Out of all we discussed, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ups and the downs, what would you say we need to leave out when it comes to online dating?
I think we need to leave out the bad conversation.
Okay.
If you're gonna actually do something, really, really do it. And don't get on there and think that love is gonna come to you. You really gotta work hard at it. It's not something that's just gonna fly in your lap. This isn't a Disney movie. You have to go out and get what you want.
You say this isn't a Disney movie. Okay. I like that.
Because anytime I've been on a dating app where the communication stalls, because so much of relationships period is communication. So if you don't know how to communicate with me on an app just to get to know me at the very basic level, then when we have conflict, you're not going to know how to communicate with me then. So leave that.
Agreed. And I would only add to that with the leave it tip for the day for me is just leaving out the nonsense. I get it that people come onto online dating platforms to play around because they're bored, even though they're in a relationship or who knows what else. But, there are really people out here who are looking for something. So if you're out for fun and games, identify yourself so that people who are out for the same can match up with you. But for people who really want to open their horizon for love and a real relationship with the future, you open the platform for them to bypass you and to move on to people that they can really connect and gel with. So that's my leave it tip. Just leave out the nonsense. All right. Well, Rick, I enjoyed you guys. You know how I like to end the show. All right. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Aerosmith Agape, and that is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even Snapchat and TikTok. This was fun. I enjoyed talking to Rick. Usually I'm here by myself. I love it when I have guests, but I love it when I talk to Rick because I haven't seen him in a while. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us on today's show. And everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Till next time, I'm Dr. Sadia, helping you to give and receive the love you both want and need. Till next time, everyone. Bye-bye.